Welcome to Japji Sahib, Pauri 22. Patala patal, lakh agasa agas, ओढ़क ओढ़क पाल थके, वेद कहन एक बात, सहस 18 कहन कतेबा, असुलो एक तात, लिखा हुए ता लिखिए, लिखे हुए विनाश, नानक वड्डा खिए, आप जाने आप. पाताला पाताल लख आगासा आगास, ओढ़क ओढ़क पाल थके, वेद कहन एक बात. There are thousands and thousands of nether worlds, and there are thousands of heavenly worlds. Searching for the truth, one goes weary, one gets exhausted. So say the Vedas. Sahas 18 kahan kateva asulo iktat. The scriptures say that there are 18,000 and more worlds, but really there is just one power. Lekha hoye ta likhiye, lekhe hoye vinas. Even if you try to write an account of it all, you will get destroyed before you can write it all. Nanak vadda aakhiye, aapai jane aap. O Nanak, he is really great. Only he knows himself. What does it mean to grow weary of the search? We are all searching for the highest truth, for the highest potential. So was Buddha. For Buddha, he had already given up all the worldly pleasures. His search was so intense that whichever master he went to and learned a technique, he mastered the technique very quickly. So it was never that effort on his part was lacking. From his side, he used to put 1,000% of effort. And yet, he kept searching, he kept searching. He could not find the highest truth in fasting, in starvation, in intense penance, in scriptural readings. He finally gave up following others' paths and sat down to discover it for himself. He went through a lot of attacks of Maya, of ignorance. He bravely got through them. Finally, when nothing really happened, Buddha just dropped the search, that nothing happens by me searching. Till now, the ego was there. I am doing, I am searching, I am looking for God. I have the potential in me to find God. I will find God. Who says all this? It is the ego. It is subtle. It is a spiritual ego, but it is still there. A point comes when this spiritual ego exhausts and gives up. It drops down, weary and tired. The moment it drops down, the feverishness culminates, the craving culminates. There is a quietness then. There is nothing more remaining to do. There is no feverishness marathon going on in the head anymore. And when that feverishness culminates, there is a different kind of peace. A peace that comes from nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just being here, just being here. And in that just being here, God entered. This space is very small. There is no room for two. It cannot accommodate I and God. Both cannot be there. I has to leave. The I has to get destroyed for God to come in. When the I dissolves, God enters. There is no room for two. Prem gali ati sakari. Tame dau na samai. There is no place for dvaitam here, for duality, for two. Either the separate self exists or the awareness and consciousness exist. Awareness is God. Consciousness is God. God is not a man sitting in a white robe, sitting up in the clouds with a white long flowing beard, writing an account of your merits and demerits. This awareness, this consciousness itself is God. This awareness is evasive to the mind and the intellect. Till the mind and the intellect are on their feverish run of attaining this, achieving that, one will not be able to experience the awareness. When the mind and intellect drop, when that I-ness in you drops, that separate self gives up and just dissolves like a grain of sugar dissolving in milk. Suddenly, the sweetness appears. It's not that the sweetness was not there before. That grain of sugar was just holding on to its separate individuality, the separate self. The separate self must drop, must dissolve. And how will it dissolve? By the true recognition that everything is anyways happening on its own. There is a flow that is driving it all. I am not the doer. I am not the experiencer. Nothing is in my hand. Unnecessarily, I start screaming and shouting and holding on to this I-ness. Drop that doership and see the truth. The consciousness, the awareness, the God is always there. This is exactly what happened to Buddha. Till now, his fists were closed tightly. To keep it closed tightly, you need to make an effort. An effort is required to keep it closed tightly. You're holding on to the separate self, the I-ness, the ego. Till the time the separate self exists, you will not be able to experience the awareness. When Buddha dropped the search and said, nothing happens, nothing is in my hand, he surrendered. He let go. There is no effort in opening the fist. It might feel like an effort initially, but it is just relaxation of the previous effort that you had made to close the fist. In that relaxation, in that surrender, in that dropping the I, the dissolving happens. You move from drishta to darshan. Drishta is the observer, the one who is interested in knowing God. And when the drishta drops, keval darshan happens. Only God is there. Only God can know Himself. So if you want to know God, become God. There is a Doha by Kabira. Kabira says, Kabira किया कुछ न होते हैं, अन किया सब होए, जो किया कुछ होते हैं, करता होर कोई. There is somebody else who is running the show. There is somebody else who is making it all happen. Whatever I want, I run after it, it doesn't happen. Whatever I don't want, that happens. And even if by fluke I want something and that does really happen, remember, I have not done it. Karta hor koi. Somebody else is doing it. It just automatically coincided with your plan, coincided with your desire. There is another master plan, and that wise one who recognizes this master plan, he has this master key. What is the master key? Surrender, surrender, let go, and just float on the top of the water rather than trying to go in and swim against the current. Only you are going to get tired. Just float, it's easier. Just float. Every spiritual teacher has only one task, really. Every spiritual teacher only exhausts the I in you. This I-ness needs to become weary and tired and completely surrender. When it completely surrenders, drops its craving, drops its feverishness, what happens? Automatically you start floating. You don't need to be told to float. So every spiritual teacher devises various ways, various techniques to exhaust the I. Now the I in you is not a single I. It is a multiple, very complex web of I's. All your habit patterns are nothing but these multiple web of I's. And the teacher makes every effort to break your habit pattern. These habit patterns are your obstacles on the path. So there are two ways. One, that you keep breaking these webs of I that have trapped you, that have surrounded you, or you understand this master key and completely surrender. Not surrender intellectually or just in words. It's an actual surrender where truly from within, experientially, you drop the doership in reality, in actuality.
So how to ensure that this doership drops?
The day you start realizing and seeing in true experience that everything is happening as part of this flow. In your own experience, when you see this truth, then surrender naturally happens. Look back at your own past. In your past, whatever you attained or achieved, really, are you responsible for it? Or did it just happen? Look at the things that you have failed in, the goof ups that you did, the big mistakes that happened. Really look, do you think you did the goof up? You did the mistake? There is a higher command that really decides the flow. Everything sprouts at its own time. And one just needs to open his mind up to this truth. The web of lies created by the I-ness does not let you see this truth. You start dropping that web of lies, that web of fakeness, and just see the truth. Really, I'm not responsible for this. Everything is happening as a part of the flow. There is a higher power. And when this becomes your own experience, just like the Buddha's experience, then slowly, slowly you will notice the doership starts crumbling. Buddha also did penances where he just ate 1 grain of rice per day for 3 months because a teacher at that time told him that by starvation you can get there. But he realized, no, it's not possible. He did everything and he could not get there. When he dropped the doing, I am searching for God. I am making it happen and I will see to it that I attain it. This zid, this stubbornness of the ego, when it relaxes, it drops, the I-ness drops, and in that dissolving only, you merge with that ocean of consciousness automatically. It's an automatic realization. So one can say that, oh, anyway, if I have to drop the search, why begin the search? It doesn't work that way. If you don't begin the search only, there will be no understanding of the value of dropping it and relaxing the I. Who doesn't want to begin the search? That is also an I, correct? Yeah. So understand this truth. Doership crumbles automatically when you start seeing the truth. So you make an attempt. You start dropping fake belief, fake ideas, fake concepts, fake understandings. All that is fake in the mind needs to drop. And you need to start seeing reality as it is. Then it becomes very easy. खुदी मिटते ही खुदा मिल जाता है. The moment I gets destroyed, God is attained. God or consciousness or awareness is attained. The next part of the sutta goes that there are 18,000 worlds, but there is only one power that runs them all. It's just a metaphorical way of saying there are millions and zillions of worlds that each one of us are really carrying. I am in my own world. I create my own world with my ideas, my concepts, my beliefs, my perception, my understanding, my judgment. And I live in my own little cocoon, my individual world. So each one of us has their individual worlds they are living in. And we believe that this world of my experience, my understanding, my belief, my concept is true. And I think that the other person is also in the same world. But it's not true. He has his own little cocoon. I have my own little bubble. And we live in our individual bubbles. But there is just one power, the ocean that carries each of these worlds. There is just one power. Nanak says, if you focus on diversity, you will get lost in the diversity. If you focus on the one, you will attain the highest. So, homework for you. Shift your focus from the diversity to that oneness. See the oneness in all. Lekha hoye ta likhiye, lekhe hoye vinas. Means so many scriptures have been written on the truth, but the truth is really indescribable. Beyond a point, words cannot justify the description of the highest truth. Beyond a point, words just cannot hold that infinity. Words just cannot hold that consciousness, that limitlessness. And therefore, it is indescribable. So many scriptures have been written, so many scriptures have been lost. You will start writing and trying to describe it, but you will get destroyed yourself, but you will not be able to describe it. Why? Because that is the greatest power, and only it knows itself. Aapai jane aap. Only that power really knows itself. This is not just poetry. This is really experiential. If you have that sincere spiritual thirst to find the truth, you will definitely find it. Keep looking. Right now, you are aware. Look at the one who is aware. That awareness that is aware of me talking to you right now, isn't that awareness itself limitless? Or does it have a limit? Does it end at the back of your head? Look at that awareness. Isn't it all pervading? Aren't all experiences a part of this awareness? Isn't your own body-mind complex in the awareness, in that consciousness? Now look at the objects in the room. Aren't they a part of this awareness? Everything is swimming within the same ocean of awareness. That same awareness is alive, it is conscious, and therefore it is called consciousness. And that same awareness knows everything. That is knowingness. We are all floating in the ocean of this knowingness. Knowingness is not just limited to this little area called the brain. It is all over. This is very experiential, provided you really are interested in your own self, like a scientist is interested in his laboratory experiment. This is your lab, this body-mind complex. You become a spiritual scientist and start looking at things as they are, and you will definitely find the truth. I know that your main question is always how to do it, how to see reality, how to poke through this web of I-ness and see the light beyond. The problem is it is indescribable. Beyond a point, it cannot be described. It can only be walked. I can only signal towards the silence. I cannot describe silence. All words will be futile because words are sound. sound will always fail to describe silence. You will have to crawl and pull yourself in silence and walk through silence yourself, even if it is scary, even if it is difficult, even if it is unknown. Only then can you experience it. It is something that is only experiential. It cannot be described beyond a point in words. It is the nectar of life. If you have not experienced awareness, if you have not dissolved into consciousness, you have not really lived. Everybody goes to work, everybody makes a living, everybody buys a house, everybody gets a car and gadgets and jewelry and money and clothes and shoes. Everybody has children, everybody has grandchildren. That is not real life. That is not real living. Real life is when you taste that nectar of your own true self. That nectar of consciousness. Only you can do it. Just by becoming interested in the darkness of silence, of going within and just dissolving every time an I pops up. The I-ness needs to dissolve and disappear. The only way to get there is to gather the courage to dissolve in the shunyata, in the silence. We are very afraid of shunyata. We want to fill ourselves up. That's why we keep filling ourselves with things, with people, with situations. We keep filling ourselves up. We have to learn to become the opposite. I'll tell you an Alexander story. So, Alexander wanted or desired for the nectar of life. This nectar of life was a special water that could make you immortal, and it was hidden very far away in the jungle somewhere on a big mountain where there was this little cave, and inside the cave you have to walk many miles to reach an internal waterfall inside the cave, and then you could find this water of life or the nectar of life with which you would become immortal. So he attempted all his life to find it, and finally he did get there. And just when he was about to bend down, cup his hands, and drink the water, there was a crow sitting right there and said, "Stop, stop." Alexander stopped and looked at the crow. The crow said, "Just like you, even I was craving to live forever. Just like you, I came here looking for immortality. But I have lived a very, very, very long life. I have been alive for thousands of years. Look at my body, it cannot even move now. Look at me, I don't even look like a crow anymore. I look so ugly, but I cannot die. I am thirsting to die now. I don't want to live anymore, but nothing can kill me. Knowing my story, if you still think it is wise to drink that nectar of life, go ahead and drink it." It is said that Alexander dropped the idea of drinking that water and returned. We are also like Alexander. What we crave for all our life even when we get that, really look at what you craved for and you achieved. Did that bring happiness really? It only brought dukkha, pain. And what you didn't achieve obviously brought you dukkha. So in both cases, you only got dukkha, pain. Recognize this. Desiring equals to pain. It doesn't matter whether desire gets fulfilled or remains unfulfilled. It brings only pain. The role of I is only desiring. I brings only pain. Drop the I. Recognize the I-ness is a foolish, non-existent joker that really, when investigated and explored and researched into, it disappears. Look within, close your eyes. Can you find the I? Can you pinpoint the I? It's not there. It's just not there. There is just shunyata, and we are afraid of that shunyata. Don't be afraid. Surrender, let go. There is a higher power taking care of it all. Dissolve into that shunyata, become one with it. When the I finally drops, when the separate self finally drops, God enters, awareness enters, consciousness enters. You reach home. In fact, I should say, God reaches home, because I and God cannot exist together. Either I am or God is. So, God reaches home. There was a Sufi fakir, Diogenes. He used to always pray to God, God, don't take my prayers very seriously. I do not have the brains to ask for the right thing. So don't take my prayers seriously. Drop this asking, this begging. Just be. Just go with the flow. Life becomes very simple. Love is the key. Naam is the key. Naam is nothing but the word Om. It is the sound of creation. It is your willingness to dissolve into the shunyata, into the silence of the self, and hear that sound of creation and become one with it. So much so that there is no two. That is called complete love. Just like in your romantic relationships, you want to become one with the other person. But can you learn romance by reading books? You can only experience that love with your beloved. Similarly, you can only experience God by being God. Be God. Because aapai jane aap. Only God can know himself. The I or the ego cannot know God. There is no place for two there. I must dissolve. You become God and then know God, because that is what you are thirsting for. See you next week.